Hi everyone, Justin McCarthy here from the PRMIA Standards of Practice Working Group. And today we're just going to have a quick look at the layout of a standard of practice. This will be very much of use to those of you working on the standard of practice prototype, and we will be obviously changing this based on the feedback coming from the team. So very quickly, we are going to see that there's a cover page, then the purpose, scope and effective date of the document, definitions, and then the meat of the document is going to be the recommended practices and guidelines. Finally, communications disclosures, and then an appendix on suggested key risk indicators by sector. The cover page, well, it's what's going to be seen on the front of these documents once there is a large library of them there, but we don't need to think about that too much. Where we do need somebody to work is on the sections of purpose, scope, effective date, and possibly other ones. For now, it'll be just to add some text to cover what we're looking at here, and that person can also work on section 3, which, as I said, is the meat of the document. However, there will probably be a lot of feedback from the working group, so at that stage someone will be able to come in and work on that very quickly and turn around the changes. On the definitions, well, we're probably going to develop a lot of definitions over the next couple of weeks as part of this work. Ultimately, we're going to need to capture those in some kind of definition repository and more of that in the future. But for now, if somebody or a small group of people can take responsibility for capturing terms which we think need to be defined as part of this standard of practice and making sure we have a common definition, this will become very interesting once we have several standard of practice groups working on different standards of practice. So any thoughts people have on how we can make this a more seamless process when we use several groups will be very welcome. Now the meat of the thing. So section 3 is going to be recommended practice and guidelines, and really it's going to be broken down into several sections, which is up for the group to decide. So in the sample document I put choosing key risk indicators, data issues and use of management reporting. Obviously there could be more of those, and that's for the team to decide, and then somebody to take each of those and to fill out all the kind of detail, what would be considered a good standard of practice for each of those areas. And then very importantly, if you look down here where you see SoP 1.1 key risk indicators should be selected for, well, this is going to be the very boiled down standards of practice that people will need to think about when they are using these. So it'll be the essence of what a standard of practice is, and if you think about perhaps maybe there's 5 or 6 sections or subsections in section 3, then you're looking at maybe 5 or 6 standards of practice coming out. Now, one thing we did talk about when we were as a working group looking at standards of practice was putting guidelines for individual industries and our subsectors financial industry in here, when we're talking about banking, insurance and asset management. Well, for now, we're going to try putting that in the appendix that you're going to see in a few moments, but if we can find a way to incorporate subsector or sub-industry our guidance in here, would be very welcome. And last section, similar to section 1, this will be to some degree boilerplate text that will be put in place, but because the standards of practice possibly be used in policing of the industry and so on, there could be a lot of work that will have to be done here that will affect the standards of practice in the industry for a long time to come. So if someone can work on this, perhaps they will have to do a lot of editing towards the end, and of course they can work in section 3, which says the meat of the product. And lastly, appendix 1, we're going to try and put industry or subsector specific guidance in here. So what operational key risk indicators would be good for banks, insurance, asset managers, and perhaps even subsectors of that, so retail banks versus investment banks and so on. So if some people can take responsibility for this, ideally one from banking, one from insurance, one from asset management, that would be ideal. So thank you very much for listening to this presentation. Any questions, be sure to ask Andy and I. Thank you.